This is so crazy. I cannot believe I'm at the end of my 3rd trimester, and what a wild ride it has been. This experience has just been the most wonderful, crazy, scary, magical experience of my whole life. And I'm just so happy that I've been able to sit down and film a recap at the end of each trimester, just to bottle up all of the different feelings and emotions that went into each trimester. And it goes by so fast, but so much happens. And whether you journal or you create videos or whatever you do, I highly encourage you that if you're pregnant now or will be in the future, find a way to savor all of the memories, because it comes and it goes and it's so crazy. And I'm so hormonal, so I'm gonna cry like 45 times in this video. So if you saw in a previous vlog, I think it was the last vlog I posted, it was our last weekend before our daughters arrived. We found out at that appointment that we were going to be delivering at 34 weeks pregnant. So right now is actually the last day of my 33rd week of pregnancy. So my 3rd trimester is definitely cut short. I'll only be making it to 34 weeks. You know, normally you get to about 40 weeks, but that's not the case for me. However, a lot has happened in this 3rd trimester already that I'm going to talk about here. So just because it's 6 weeks less than full term does not mean there's not a lot to talk about. So I'm going to set this up how I've set up my 1st and 2nd trimester recap videos and go through each week. Each week I documented things that happened, symptoms I felt, things that I wish I knew, like all these different emotions that went into each week I have written down. So I'm going to go through week by week, and then at the end I'm going to talk about things that I wish I knew before this trimester, things that I learned throughout these past few weeks, and again, in case it's helpful to you, and also just so I can remember all that happened in this final trimester of pregnancy. As you saw in my 2nd trimester video, if you watched that, things were wonderful. Like, my 2nd trimester was definitely my favorite part of pregnancy, just in the sense that I felt the best. I felt so connected with my body. I loved my 2nd trimester. I think once I hit week 28, things just got harder physically, and I am carrying twins, so that obviously goes into it. I think some of the symptoms that I really started feeling, as far as like growing belly and less room in my body, it came sooner than what might happen with a singleton. I think that's pretty normal, but week 28 I noticed some parts of life just getting more difficult. I'm very in tune with my body, and anytime anything felt a little bit uncomfortable, like I wouldn't do it. Personal choice. Some people, I think, push through certain uncomfortability, but again, with it being high risk, like, I was not willing to do that. I talked with my doctor and I ended up ordering a belly band, which really helped. So definitely a tip if you don't feel like you need a belly band because things are going really well for you, awesome, but there's no harm in a belly band. Sometimes I felt like it wasn't really doing anything, but the doctor really said that these bands just help to relieve pressure off of your stomach and off of your cervix and off of your babies, so they're great. Also, horrible symptom for me anyway that started at week 28 was leg cramps, and like, I kept calling them Charlie horses, but they're so much worse than Charlie horses, and I've never had like a leg cramp or a leg spasm in my life. My leg cramps would always happen to me in the middle of the night, so they would wake me up from my sleep, which is just not fun. I would always wake Jonathan up in the middle of the night when I would have the cramps, because I was not able to like physically rub out the cramp myself because I was just like debilitated. I really did not like these cramps, and so I would have him just like rub out the cramp for me. It hurts, but it's so helpful to have someone, you know, really get in there. I would try to just walk it off, like get up and just put pressure on it, and mine would last like 3-4 minutes. Like, they wouldn't go away quickly. Just something to look out for, and something that definitely was a symptom of mine. So the next thing I wrote was that I had a full-blown outie. So really random, I have a huge pre-pregnancy huge innie belly button. Like, it's like a thing. Like, I have a big innie and I assumed there was no way that thing would ever become an outie. I was wrong. The beginning of my 3rd trimester, that thing just like poked out, and it was so wild, and it just continues to grow outward. So Even if you have a really big innie, expect a really big outie, just a fun thing to look out for. Next thing I wrote was at week 28, I really noticed that it's harder to breathe. I mean, even in this video, I have paused already like 4 times. Very normal part of pregnancy, and especially with twins. I mean, I have 2 little love bugs like pressing on every organ in my body, and I like can't breathe. I will say too that I did have an increased appetite, and it didn't start until week 28. So this was something that I put a lot of pressure on myself about. And I'll just be honest that when you're pregnant, and especially pregnant with twins, people love to comment on your body. Like, it's always, the way I've looked at it, coming from a really good place. But through my whole pregnancy, everyone has said to me, like, you don't look big at all, like, you're carrying twins, how? And it's like literally so coming from such a good place, but it put so much pressure on me. Like, at every doctor's appointment, I was like, am I gaining enough weight? Like, am I doing what's best for my babies? And really just throughout my pregnancy, I did not have an increased appetite, and I actually just like felt fuller quicker. So it was just hard for me to like gain a ton of weight in pregnancy. My doctors were never concerned. My babies have grown the best they could. They're twins, they're going to be small, whatever. I don't need to justify it, but just if you're in that situation, or if you gain a ton of weight in pregnancy, that's great too. You have to honor what your body's going to do, and just, you know, make sure you're eating plenty. So for me, in my 3rd trimester, my appetite really kicked in, and I did start eating more. I did start gaining weight at a more like rapid level, and that's very common. A lot of times women don't gain a lot of weight until their 3rd trimester. So for me, I wish I had put a little bit less stress on myself earlier on in my pregnancy, and realized that I'm still doing the best I can for my babies. Also, I talked about this in my last video, but I have been extremely constipated my whole pregnancy. I actually have a fantastic tip that I'm gonna get to. I didn't do this until a few weeks into my 3rd trimester, so I'll get to it, but just wanted to note the constipation was in full force at week 28. The last thing at week 28 was that I had really bad vivid dreams. And to be honest, I kind of forgot about that because they stopped. I haven't had a dream like that in a few weeks, but I was having really intrusive, dark dreams. I won't go into detail, and I honestly kind of blocked them out. Like, I don't even remember exactly what they all were, but a lot of like natural disasters, like sinking ships, like just like really dark dreams, really chaotic and devastating. And I looked it up, and it actually is normal for pregnancy, just with the hormones, and your brain is kind of stressed out, so it's normal. But it definitely was the case for me, and I'm glad that they stopped eventually. Week 29. So the first thing I wrote here was that I was so tired all the time, everything would wipe me out. Week 29 through now, I have no energy. Like, I can't do anything. And we're busy people. Like, we have big families, we have friends, like I feel like we're always going, and I really haven't missed out on anything. In pregnancy, I haven't wanted to. Like, I can't really think of anything I didn't go to because I was tired, which I actually don't really recommend. Like, try to miss things if you really can, but I don't like missing things. I've heard that newborn tired is a whole different level once your babies are here, but a lot of women say like pregnancy tired is actually worse. So I'm holding on to that and hoping that I get a little bit of energy back when my babies are here. I need it. Speaking of, I'm gonna drink my coffee. I'm drinking my mommy coffee. I've talked about this in other videos. I can't recommend it enough. Definitely look into it. It's like half calf and quarter calf coffee, and it's so good. Oh, and I actually wrote in here, oh, that's kind of cute, I guess I'll note it. 2 things happened that made me really realize, like, wow, I need to like not do so much. I remember going to Target with Jonathan, and we were just shopping around, and I had to sit like 3 times. We were only in there for like 30-40 minutes. And then later on that week, we went to this like vintage market that I've vlogged before. It's the SOA market in Boston. I love it. And I couldn't do it. It was like one of the first warm days, so my body wasn't used to that. But we were outside shopping around the markets. We went inside to the vintage festival, and I think I cried to Jonathan because I was just so like frustrated. You just feel out of control of your body. It's okay to feel those things, and still love being pregnant. I have loved every second of this pregnancy, even these hard moments, but I just remember being like, we have to go home. Like, I can't stay here. We like drove into the city just to go home after like an hour. That's okay. We picked up food and watched movies all day. So then Week 29, we had a few medical things come up. We were monitored like 2 to 3 times a week throughout the whole 3rd trimester, and then the whole pregnancy in general. We were seen at least once a week, if not twice a week. And so I noticed towards the end of week 29 that my baby A was not moving a lot, and she's been, you know, our baby that's had taken longer to grow, and she has had more complications than baby B, but I can always usually feel them a few times a day, and I just noticed over like a 2-day period that I hadn't felt her too much. So we went in for a fetal specialist appointment. They noticed it too, and so they did send us into the labor and delivery floor. We were triaged for the first time. This happened again later on. They just did a stress test on the babies, monitored them. We were there like 8 hours. We were there the whole day, and they ended up sending us home. They felt like things were okay. I don't know if it was just like a bad week for my little baby A, but she did get better and her movements have progressed throughout the pregnancy. Just a piece of advice here, like I knew something was wrong, and luckily I have doctors in care that like respect what I say and take me seriously when I'm like, hey, I want to come in, I haven't felt my baby, please check on it. And I was right, and they also noticed there were some issues. So be very aware and in tune, especially in your 3rd trimester, of your baby's movements, because you know better than anyone else if something's wrong or right. And that's just something I would advise to all mothers, is call your doctor if you ever feel inclined to. Okay, so then we're at week 30. The first thing I wrote for week 30 was, all previous symptoms continued. They sure did. Every symptom that I've mentioned so far, like physically, continued. I remember this week, week 30 was such a good week. Like, and I'm glad I wrote this down because I just forgot, like, again, I can't stress enough how important it is to have some sort of journal throughout your pregnancy if you care about this stuff. I mean, whatever floats your boat. But week 30, I wrote, we had such a great checkup. The babies grew the most they had grown, and breathing movements were looking promising. So something else too that I don't even know if you have this checked for your baby, if you have like a low risk singleton pregnancy, but babies are supposed to do a breathing movement in the womb that they don't need to do because they don't need to breathe on their own like in your belly, but it's like this practice breathing movement that they start doing at like week 28 that tells doctors, okay, when they're outside of your belly, they're going to be able to breathe on their own. My babies did not do that until like week 30, and then at week 30 they really started to do it. We started to get excited about like maybe getting to week 36, which is the farthest we can go with this pregnancy and all that. So I just remember riding a high week 30. We like got dinner, and it was just a wonderful time. In week 30, it was Mother's Day weekend, so it was nice to just be celebrated. Like, I have felt like a mother since the first time I saw these little babies' heartbeats. And so just being pregnant during Mother's Day is definitely special. I did write in here though that the night before Mother's Day was not a great night with symptoms, but that's okay, exclamation point. I was experiencing a lot of chest tightening and a lot of worsening symptoms. Like, the fatigue was way worse than it ever was. I really couldn't do anything. I could walk 5 steps and literally need to sit down. Like, it felt worse than what I would expect in a pregnancy. And so come to find out, it was not just because of pregnancy. I went to the doctors that week and they ran blood work because, again, I told them that I was anemic, and I know I've mentioned this in other videos, and I was changing my diet. They told me at the point of diagnosing me with anemia weeks before that it wasn't horrible, it was just, you know, your numbers aren't great, incorporate some iron-rich foods. I just felt like the symptoms were getting worse, and they felt like anemic symptoms. So I asked them to test me again, and my numbers really dipped down. And so they did have me go on iron supplements, and they also told me, my doctor, and this is the best thing that I did for constipation in this pregnancy. So if you're constipated, even if you're not pregnant, get yourself Benefiber or Metamucil. I can't even tell you how much it has changed the pregnancy experience for me. And I've been going to the bathroom much more regularly. And sorry if that's TMI, but it's such a problem in pregnancy. And if you're anemic and you take iron supplements, it really slows down your digestion. So go to your drugstore and get Metamucil or Benefiber and just thank me later. Also in this week, I had a maternity photo shoot with Jonathan. So I have, some of my thumbnails have pictures from that photo shoot. I actually think the thumbnail for this video is from that shoot. We posted a ton of pictures on Instagram too, but we had our maternity shoot at week 30, and I'm so happy we did it then because I still felt okay. We could go in to deliver at any point, so I didn't want to wait any longer than that. And so then at the very end of week 30, we had a fetal specialist appointment, and we were told that baby A had fallen off the growth curve, really just due to her abdomen being small. There's so many technical things that I don't feel the need to really get into on here, but she did fall off the growth curve, and they started talking about the possibility of me not delivering at 36 weeks but needing to go in sooner. Talked about me needing steroids, and so I'll get to that, but that was kind of the beginning of that conversation. Also, throughout the whole 3rd trimester up until this point, I wasn't sleeping really. Some nights not at all. I had insomnia and just so uncomfortable. But I hit week like 31, and I just all of a sudden was like sleeping through the night, other than getting up to pee like 3 or 4 times. But I would be able to like go right back to bed. So that was nice. I wasn't expecting to sleep the whole rest of my pregnancy, but week 31 came and I was like, whoa, I'm getting good sleep again. Also, something that started at week 31 were baby hiccups. They may have been hiccuping before this point, but I just couldn't feel it. And so that has been like something that I've cherished so much. I mean, every time they move and they just kick and whatever, like I just love it so much. But the hiccups, for some reason, I have just fallen in love with, and literally crying again. I think also too because we were told that hiccups actually mean that they're doing their breathing movements inside your womb, which is so important, especially with my babies. So I know every time they're hiccuping, I'm like, good job, like you can breathe. Baby B hiccups all the time, but when they're both like hiccup at the same time, it's just like, it's the best thing in the world. Like I can't even tell you. Gather yourself. I think I'm just extra emotional because I'm delivering them in just a few days at this point. And so then the end of week 31 was not so good. Again, so many highs and lows to this whole experience. I had one night where it was insomnia that kicked back in, but I could not breathe. Like I felt like my chest was closing, like I couldn't take a deep breath, really dizzy, heart pounding, like my heart felt like it was beating out of its chest. Shortness of breath, I think I mentioned. I'm just looking at exactly what I wrote down. I can't explain it. It was just worse than what it's been before. So I actually went back to the hospital and they triaged me again, sent me to labor and delivery floor, admit me for the day, and just because my anemia numbers had like not gotten better, and I had only been on the iron supplements a few days, and ended up running tests, just making sure I was okay, hydrating me, all of that, and just really telling me to get on my iron supplements. And so I did, and I was fine to go home. And after about a week of really taking the iron every day, things got better, like those symptoms got better. If you are anemic or you get diagnosed with anemia early on, like my suggestion is take the iron supplements. I know it's brutal with digestion. Take them every other day and take the Benefiber, because it gets scary when your anemia numbers really dip, and it's not worth it, and it can affect your babies. Okay, only 2 more weeks to recap here. So week 32. So I wrote that the anemia symptoms were still really bad, but that's just because it took a few more days. It got better. Like I have felt fine. Baby A was still falling off the growth curve. We kind of confirmed that she was just going to continue to fall off the growth curve. That's just the way it was looking, but she was still growing. It just was, she was so much smaller than where she's like supposed to be, just off of her abdomen. Like again, so hard to explain, but she was still safe inside my belly, which was wonderful. I wrote hormones, crying a lot. I will say that throughout the whole pregnancy, I have been not like hormone ragey. Like when I have my period, I am way more like, you know, you feel it coming on, right? Where you're just kind of like angry, you get those hormone those heightened hormones. But in pregnancy, like I have not been like mean or upset or whatever. I just am so emotional. Like I'm so emotional, and I would say the last 2 weeks I've cried the most I've cried like ever in my life. I cannot stop crying. Talking about crying is making me want to cry. Like that's how many hormones are running through my body. I can't stomach coffee anymore. Which really started around week 31, and it is true. Like my mommy coffee is good because it's not as much caffeine and it's not really acidic, but coffee out at Starbucks and things like that, like I'll get it just for the experience, but it makes me really nauseous and I just can't really handle caffeine anymore. Oh, I did start getting back into yoga at around week 32. There was a few weeks or like a month, if not longer, where I didn't do any sort of stretching or like activity, just listening to my body, especially with all the anemia symptoms. But I did start getting back into yoga, and I've been doing prenatal yoga the last 2 weeks or so, just to really stretch my body, and more so even like meditative yoga to connect with the babies, connect with myself. I really suggest that. There's so many, even just free YouTube videos of prenatal yoga that you can do that is very meditative and restorative, and it's helped me so much, especially when I'm stressed out. So even if yoga is not your thing, like in pregnancy, it's been really wonderful. Okay, and then this brings us to week 33. The first thing I wrote was that my anemia symptoms lessened and I honestly felt great, way more energy, which is good because I didn't want to experience all of those symptoms going into delivery. I noted also that at the beginning of this week, I started getting that bad taste in my mouth again. If you've been pregnant, you know. It really starts in the first trimester. A lot of people say it's like metallic. I haven't had a metallic taste, but it's like, if you get it in pregnancy, you know what I'm talking about. And mine has kind of returned. If I do like mouthwash, it helps a little bit. Doesn't last all day, but it's just part of the part of this process. And then I wrote in here again, baby hiccups. You can tell I love them. Like, baby hiccups were much more frequent, pretty much every day. So just a random weird thing that I never thought I would love so much in pregnancy, but it's been like one of the best parts, honestly. And so then we went in for our fetal specialist appointment, and we were told, as you saw in my last vlog, that we needed to deliver in 1 week. And that was crazy because we thought we were going to be able to make it to 36 weeks, and our fetal specialist just sat us down and said, you know, I've been thinking about you guys so much, and I contacted my colleagues across the country that specialize in your type of pregnancy, told them about your case, and they all just agree that you need to deliver at 34 weeks. So that was wild because we really thought we were going to get to 36. Since finding that out, we've just been trying to savor this whole last week of pregnancy, and it's been really challenging, and we've had a lot happen in this past week, and a lot of reality has sunken in for us because we've been told by doctors. We've had so many appointments. I've been at the hospital every single day just explaining to us what this delivery is going to look like, and I'm going to talk about it after it happens. I know what to expect. I'm going to be strong and know that this is not going to be a delivery that I ever planned for myself, but just trust that, and just know and focus on the fact that, like, all that matters is that they're okay. Like, any of my needs do not matter, and like, that's just how I have to look at this. And I'm putting all of my trust in science and in these doctors, and this week has just been a lot of processing, and I want to talk about this because I want to remember it. I want to remember like the strength it's taken to just like go into this delivery knowing that they're going to be okay, and that I'll have my whole life to like bond with them and nurture them. And so many women go through pregnancies and deliveries like what I'm going to experience, and women are so strong. We can handle anything, and these babies are even stronger. I know it. And so we know our delivery date, and it is in a few days from today. So we've just been prepping for that, and I actually had to get the rounds of steroids. So I got my first round yesterday, my second round today, and our hospital bags are packed. Everything's ready. Like, we're just waiting at this point. I feel like the next few days are going to be the longest days of my life, but I also know it's the last time I'm ever going to, like, can I not? It's the last time that I'm ever going to hold these babies in my belly. So I want to soak up these next few days, like, and not just focus so much on getting to delivery. Like, I want to be as present as possible. So that's what my 33rd week of pregnancy is going to look like. Yeah, that kind of brings me to right now, my present day. And so that's my 3rd trimester, and it's shorter than what most women experience, but It's mine, it's my experience, it's my story, and it's been the most incredible journey of my whole life. And it's been the hardest thing I've ever gone through, but it's so worth it. Like, if you are struggling in pregnancy right now for whatever reason, like, even if you have, you know, no complications, no medical concerns, but you're struggling with symptoms or you're struggling with anything, like, it's okay to not love every second of it because it's so hard, but you are so strong, and it's just the greatest gift. And there are so many women that I know don't get to experience this, and my heart goes out to them. But you're still so strong too, and however you end up being a mother, it is like the greatest gift in the whole world, however you get there, whether you carry them in your body or you don't. It's just, I can't wait. Okay, let's get into the part of this video where I tell you the things I wish I knew before this third trimester, because there are a lot. The first thing I wrote, which I actually alluded to at the beginning of this video, but I wish that I knew how quickly I was going to go from feeling so great and so like strong and just energized in my second trimester to having no energy and not feeling strong physically at all in my third trimester. That happened quick. So I wish I knew to like take more advantage of that energy my second trimester, because I really thought I was gonna go strong the whole pregnancy. Not the case. I wrote that not being able to be active does take a mental toll on you, and to just know that that's okay. I think that you have to get over this like hump at some point in pregnancy where you know that your body is just no longer yours. It's not. You're serving a purpose, and it's the greatest purpose of life, but you are just not the same body that you were before. So random, but something that I didn't know about before being pregnant is the inward kicks. Like, I had never heard of anyone talking about this. You always hear about the babies kicking and you can like see it on your belly, and my baby B has been head inward like the whole pregnancy. We really don't have many pictures of her like profile because she just has been facing inside my belly, meaning that when she kicks, like I feel it in my belly. Like I'll feel it on the top of my bum or like my bowel. I feel the kicks like fluttering over my bladder. Like, she rarely kicks outward. She definitely has. I just think that's something that I wish I knew about. Not that it matters. I learned quickly that, wow, that makes sense. Like, her legs are kicking in. She wouldn't be kicking out. Okay, so this is more of a tip, but I would really suggest starting to prep early. I started to get the nursery ready in the second trimester, buying things, organizing, because I had that energy, and I'm so glad I did that because I enjoyed it. If I felt like how I feel now when I had to get the nursery ready, the car seats, you know, just everything that comes with prepping for a newborn, sanitizing all of their bottles and all these things, if I waited any longer, I think that it just, I don't know, it would have taken a lot out of me. And so I just really suggest, like, there's no reason to not prep early. There's really not. I mean, obviously life happens, you may be busy and you can't do things super early, but it's been so wonderful because we've just been able to like enjoy the nursery before they're here, and everything's ready, and it's been ready for a few weeks. I also wrote reorganizing your cabinet space and your bathroom storage. So this is something that I hadn't really thought about until I really was picturing like my new routine and needing things in the kitchen for them and where I'm going to put them. And I'm glad that we organized everything now instead of when they're here and it's all chaotic, because if you organize when you're in like a state of need for certain things, like you probably aren't going to be thoughtful with the way that you like store things. And so being able to really think through, okay, in the bathroom, where do I want their like shower caddy, all of their lotions, all of their wash, like I'm glad I have it set up in a way that is going to be easy for me to just utilize all these things in their new places, if that makes sense. But I will also say that no amount of preparation is going to have you feeling ready for these babies. Like, I can't even tell you how much I'm so like emotionally ready to meet them and care for them and love them and bring them into our house and all of that, but I feel so unprepared. I feel so scared and I wish someone had told me that there's really no way to feel ready. And maybe you do feel ready in your pregnancy. I certainly don't, but that's okay. And I'm gonna do the best I can. That's all that matters. The last thing on my list here, sorry to round it out with something kind of like deep, but I really did not expect, one, I'm not sure I expected to love pregnancy so much, because I just had no idea how I would feel in pregnancy, and I always went into being pregnant, you know, honoring myself and telling myself it's okay if you don't love it, right? It's the hardest thing anyone can really go through physically, and I always told myself it's okay if you don't enjoy the experience, or if it's really hard. And it has been so hard, but as I've said a million times, I love it so much. I love being pregnant. Like I love it. And so I wish I knew how sad I was going to be at the thought of no longer being pregnant. And I wish that I could have like emotionally prepared for that. It started to hit me, I remember on my baby moon, we were like 24, 25 weeks pregnant, and I just like couldn't stop crying one night. And it was the first time I just really realized like I'm not gonna be pregnant forever, and I'm never gonna be pregnant with these girls again. Like this is the only time, and I just wish that I prepped for all the emotions that would come with like me feeling that way. I looked into it, and I think I do have what's called like perinatal depression, and I think that type of depression can come in different ways. Like I think it just means depression when you're pregnant, and some women probably experience depression because they hate it so much and they're not enjoying it and they're just ready for it to be over. My form of this depression is just that I am really sad that it's going to eventually come to an end. And so it is normal. A lot of mothers experience it. I've read a lot of like articles, and I've like connected with other mothers through like their shared stories about this, and you just have to focus on how exciting it's going to be to finally meet them. And so just really what gets me through the days where I'm feeling the depression is just knowing I get to hold them in my arms, and that Jonathan gets to hold them and experience what I've gotten to experience these past 9 months. So that's just something that, again, I did not expect, but it's been such a part of this experience for me. That's my 3rd trimester, and it has been such a crazy ride, and I can't believe it's coming to an end, and I'm so excited, and I can't wait to share these babes with all of you and with the world, because they're just so strong already, and they're so wonderful, and they are going to be the best thing that ever happens to us. And I just cannot wait for them to be here, for them to be safe. I can't wait for them to be in our home. I know it's going to be such a journey. We have a long road ahead of us, but it's going to be so worth it. So that's it for my 3rd trimester update. I just can't express how grateful I am for the community I've created here, and for all of you sending me so much love and support and sharing your stories with me, even if we differ on our beliefs or our approaches to something, or our experience has just been so different. Like, I love hearing from all of you. So just thank you for being vulnerable and allowing me to be vulnerable here. So again, just thank you so much for being here, and I will see you all so soon.
I dare you to be wilder. I don't fit into your box. Beauty queens without no flaws.